All right, so are you wondering what type of proteins you should eat? Well then, hi everybody, my name is Adam, aka Puffy. On today's video topic, we're going to be talking about protein and the 7 types of food and protein sources that you should be eating. So let's get into it. Now, before we get into the video, if you find any value of this video, if you liked it, if you found it useful, please make sure to subscribe for more videos just like this. And if you can, it's free, do it now. So do a thumbs up thumbs up for the algorithm because it helps get more reach, more eyeballs, shows that you like the content, the video. Thank you in advance. Now, protein is obviously very, very important. It's going to help you build muscle, help repair muscle. It's incorporated into cell membranes. That's kind of like the outer layer of the muscle cells. It helps signals go in and out. It helps make your neurotransmitters. It helps make hormones, things like adrenaline. So it's very, very important. So I've picked out 7 really, really top quality proteins, and I'm going to break into why they're good. So I kind of gave it away a little bit already, but number 1 would be salmon, specifically wild caught salmon. It's long been one of my favorite sources of protein because of all the additional benefits it have, especially for clients to eat them. Salmon is an awesome source of omega-3s, right? I prefer you to get wild caught salmon, like farm salmon. I'm not so big of a fan of if you've ever seen the process of how they put them into pens and what they feed them. It's far from like their natural diet. Salmons actually are carnivores. They're normally like they're supposed to eat like mackerels and other things like that. And that's normally where they get their orange color from. But there's like this thing, I don't know how to pronounce it. And that's what gives it its nice orange flavor, whereas the farm salmon actually has this kind of like gray color, and they sometimes actually inject dye into salmon. But it's not cheap. So you could do it a couple times a week at least. But that would be a great protein source. And additionally, you can sub in other like fatty sources of fish like sardines. But if you do that, make sure you get it packed in like olive oil or mustard sauce. Don't get it packed in like vegetable oil. That's not really good for you. You can also use mackerel. It's a very, very good underrated fatty fish. There's a bunch of all the different kinds of mackerels, but very, very high on omega-3s. And there's also anchovies. I fucking hate them, but that's another good alternative. Or sardines if you're trying to save a little bit of money versus the salmon. But health is wealth. You can't really put a dollar value on your health, but again, times are tough sometimes, so that's one suggestion. Number 2 would be grass-fed beef or grass-fed ground beef. The grass-fed beef is like nutritionally is a little bit different than regular beef. Like, I'm not so concerned about that there is a better omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. You do get a little bit more CLA. You do get better nutrients. The grass-fed beef to the regular is not a massive difference. I just tend to get the grass-fed because I know the animals are treated a little bit better, and I'd rather purchase it from ideally someone local who's treated the animals better, opposed to like someone who's putting them in pens and feeding them and full of bad shit and pumping them full of antibiotics, and they're sick all the time. So grass-fed beef is a great source of hemi-iron, and that is that that's the iron you get from animals. It's very absorbable for your body as opposed to plant-based versions of iron. It's a great source of B12 and zinc, a lot of really great nutrients with grass-fed beef. Moving on, we have wild game. Now, we have stuff like buffalo, venison, and elk. It's very similar to organic grass-fed beef, where you're going to get a bunch of B12, iron, zinc, all that good stuff, all kinds of nutrients. Depending on where you live or not, you may have access to it. You have access to different stuff. You could pretty much find, I know buffalo and what's it called? You can find buffalo and elk pretty easily now. Venison, maybe not so much, but it's also relatively inexpensive depending where you are. It could be more expensive depending where you are, but then you can always go for grass-fed beef. Okay, going into number 4, of course, it's got to be on the list. Everybody eats eggs. Everybody should eat eggs. Organic, cage-free eggs, ideally. So I like more than likely, or I preferably, it's like from a farmer. But like, I mean, I'm in Toronto. There's no farmer near me unless I'm going to drive like 3 hours away to get them. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite. But the best quality you can get, or the better quality you can get, the better. So when you have chickens that are running around, the yolks are typically much more nutritious. Sometimes, like when they're not caged free, they're going to feed the chickens a bunch of crap, right? And so that makes up their omega-3 content, and that's a good thing as well. But when you get eggs that are from a farm, you can see the difference in the yolk. The yolks are much more orange as opposed to like or they're like real firm. You can hold them in your hand. Compared to like when you get the 99 cents a dozen ones, they're almost see-through, and they're not going to be able to hold in your hand. They're going to almost disintegrate. So when you see their yolks that are real firm and they have that like orangey yellow structure, that's a much, much more nutritious yolk. And it's honestly going to taste a lot better as well. If you're baking with this stuff, it doesn't make a huge difference. But if you're eating them whole, it makes a huge difference. Now, I want to mention, a lot of people sometimes develop sensitivities to eggs when they eat them over and over and over and over and over again. So a way to combat that and to lessen the digestive issues is to change the way you're cooking them and kind of rotate it. And what that does is it changes the way the proteins fold in the egg and the amino acid sequence with the DNA structure. So I like eggs over easy or scrambled. I don't like, so we're like, or if I'm doing it over easy, the yolk isn't heated up, so you can actually oxidize the cholesterol. So no yolk when you scramble it, although I do eat scrambled sometimes. But what I would kind of rotate, or how you do, is like, don't eat them all the time scrambled or over easy every time, like kind of rotate them a little bit. But I mean, that would be my number one choice, would be scrambled, but just over, cook it in different ways. And there's been a lot of people that I've dealt with that have had sensitivities over the years over this. And they'll get really bloated. Or sometimes they're drinking the eggs, which doesn't really make any sense. So make sure that you're actually cooking it, because it's a lot more bioavailable, and you're going to be able to digest and use the protein, especially if you're cooking it instead of drinking it. You're not Rocky Balboa. And there's been many studies to prove, like years ago, that it's not bioavailable if you're just chugging down a bunch of eggs. I know it's very popular on TikTok, like a carton of egg whites and some sugar-free chocolate syrup, but genuinely, like, just cook it. It's much more, and you're going to be more full from it too. It's not just a matter of the macros. Okay, number 5, we have lean white fish, specifically cod and shrimp. Those are my two favorite. Shrimp more than cod, but shrimp is a little bit more expensive than cod. So I don't really like any other white fishes, but these are just like straight protein. So these are some examples. This is one of my favorite recipes I've ever made, bourbon shrimp. It's so good. If you want the recipe, drop me a comment down below. This one was, I think, lemon garlic cod with sweet potato and asparagus. If you want the recipe, drop a comment. But there's a lot of nutrients in here, but also it's just straight protein. There's no carbs. There's a very, very minimal amount of fat. I also like it because, like, what's better than a fat, like butter, shrimp and butter? It's so good, right? And because it has no fat, you can add butter to it. But when you're dieting, because it's such straight protein and no carbs and no fat, you could eat more of it, right? So like you could substitute, for example, like a protein shake, and you could have like 10 ounces of shrimp and you'd be much more full. And then it also tends to hold, like, to marinate and to have better flavor than a lot of other fishes. And there's a reason why, like for bodybuilders specifically, this is like the number one fish they use, is because, especially cod. I don't like tilapia, but especially cod, it's because it's super, super lean. You can eat a lot of it. And it's going to fill you up. All right. Number 6, we have free range poultry. So like chicken or turkey. Now this could be white meat. It could be dark meat. So white meat would be chicken breast, and dark meat would be like a wing. And those those muscles are actually made for like more explosive birds, like flapping your wings. Whereas like in their thigh, they are made more for walking. So what happens is the protein is a little bit different. There's something called the myoglobin. If you look it up, it means like more iron, and if that's needed for more sustained activity. So that's actually why the meat in darker is like darker in the legs, because it has more iron content than that myoglobin. In terms of the differences between like white meat and dark meat, there's very, very little differences, other than obviously a little bit more fat in the dark meat. But the fat's mostly monosaturated, which is really good for the heart. It's a healthy fat. So it's good for you, whether you're going with leaner or fattier thigh. Either one is good choices. They both have a lot of B vitamins, and they also have the hemp iron, which we talked about earlier with the beef. This is a picture of the Portuguese chicken that I've made. Okay, number 7, we're going to have other fishes like clams, oysters, mussels, scallops, etc. Like, you can't go wrong with something called mussels if you're trying to build them, right? They have a lot of zinc, and that's kind of what they're known for, but they also have a ton of tyrosine, which is something that converts your dopamine for your brain to give you mental clarity. It's going to make you feel more sharp. And then they also have a ton of B12, tons of minerals, a good amount of selenium. And I really like the way they taste. The one thing about most of these is they're kind of difficult to cook properly. So if you don't know how to do that, if you're going to a nice restaurant, order some of these, and most of them are pretty lean. I guess it depends on the sauce they bring in, if it's like an Italian or whatever. Bonus would be a plant-based option. So lentils. Because they have a crap ton of fiber, and fiber fills you up. It's good for digestion. About 16 grams per 1 cup, and 16 grams of protein, depending on the type of lentil. But it's a really good vegan or protein option. Now, I just want to say, if you're seeing this right now, that means you made it all the way to the end of this video, and I really appreciate you having the attention span longer than the size of a peanut. And I know we covered a lot of information that could be very overwhelming and frustrating, but just remember that consistency is the key, and small, gradual habits build up day after day to build a larger success. So if you're very overwhelmed, you don't know where to start, just pick one fucking protein option, start with that and eat it. and then go from there and build and build and build, right? So if you don't know about me, I lost 150 pounds and I struggled with a bunch of nutrition or not knowing what to do with nutrition or exercise for like a decade. And I didn't know who to listen to, who to trust. I know how frustrating it can be because there's so much information and so much bullshit on the internet. Chances are, if you're seeing this right now, you're very frustrated with the way where you're at in your fitness journey. You're probably frustrated because it feels like you tried everything under the sun and nothing's working. Well, if this is you, I get it because I was in your shoes. And what I would encourage you to do is book a free game plan chat with me below, and it'll be the first link in the description. What we're going to do on that call is create a custom game plan for you that will allow you to get from point A to point B with literal ease while eating, like whether it's weight loss, build muscle, strength, etc., while eating all your favorite foods with ease. Now, if that's not something you're ready for right now, it's totally cool. Then the other thing that I would suggest would be to join my 100% free school community, and that is designed to help you on your weight loss goal. And I'm trying to build a community of like-minded individuals with the same goal, which is to lose weight and motivate each other. I will pause this and show you that really quick. This is what you would see in the classroom. We go over more nutrition videos, cardio, exercise, some cooking videos, a great module on sleep, lower back pain, options to do for sauce, snacks, etc., 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 etc. There's a bunch of great options on here. It's 100% free. So that would be the second link in the description below. Now, let me know what you thought about this like new kind of type of video where it's like on the board and there's pictures. I hope you like this kind of style. I can do it more often versus like the Word document. I mean, thanks again for watching this video. If you've made it all the way and you're still listening to me talk, drop me a subscribe, drop a like. I really appreciate it. Comment what you thought was good. Comment if you have any ideas of videos that you would like to see in the future. And until next time, I will see you in the next one.